Today's episode of Variant is brought to you by GoDaddy.
Today on Variant, I review the Son of Batman animated movie. Welcome to Variant, where we love comics more than I wish Young Justice will get renewed for more seasons. I'm your host, Arris. So I was lucky enough to see Son of Batman before its official release on May 6th. And since I saw it, I'm going to review it like I do every time a DC animated movie is released. And don't worry, since the movie isn't officially out yet, this will be a spoiler-free review. So without any further ado, my review. And that rhymed. I didn't mean for it to rhyme, but oh well. DC's newest installment in their line of animated movies, Son of Batman, is loosely based on writer Grant Morrison and artist Andy Kubert's Batman and Son comic book, which is one of my favorite Batman storylines of all time, as it's the storyline that Batman finds out he has a son and is introduced to Damian Wayne for the first time. Now, like I said, I'm not going to give any spoilers away for the movie, but I will say the movie is definitely the farthest departure from any DC animated movie adapted from the comic book. Like, the Flashpoint Paradox movie was pretty much spot on to the Flashpoint comic, almost shot for shot, panel for panel sometimes. Same thing with The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2, and so many other of the DC animated adaptations. But Son of Batman, a heck of a lot changed from the comic it was based from. Now, with that said, that doesn't mean I didn't like the movie. It just took me a little off guard, since they usually stick really close to the comic books they're adapting the movie off of, as I'm sure it will for other people who are used to these movies sticking extremely close to the stories they're based from. Now, with that said, you may be thinking, does that mean you didn't like the movie? And no, it doesn't mean that at all. I actually love the movie. It's one of my favorite movies now from their DC animated line. I know it seems like I say that almost every time I review one of these movies, but that's simply because more often than not, DC and Warner Brothers Home Video is always stepping up their game with each of these animated films. Now, even though they didn't stick super close to the Batman and Son comic, they still used a lot of stuff and ideas from it, like the whole Man-Bat army that's being made for and or used by the League of Assassins, which isn't a spoiler because that's one of the biggest aspects from the comic book, which has been out since like 2006. So if you didn't know that, I feel bad for you in the sense that you've been deprived, so you need to read that storyline. One of the biggest changes in this movie is Deathstroke, since he's not in the storyline at all in the comics. But like I said, I really enjoyed this movie, like a lot, and thought the new approach they took incorporating Deathstroke was a cool way to essentially tell the same story this movie was based off of. Plus, you'll never hear me complaining about Deathstroke being in anything, as he's one of my favorite comic book characters, period. So it's been really cool that he's been getting a lot of spotlight recently with his appearance in Arrow and the Batman Arkham Origins games. There's also a pretty significant thing that happens in this movie that has to do with, let's just say, Deathstroke's appearance and the origin of how it happened, but that's all I'm going to say about that. Another fan favorite character makes his way into this film, and that would be Nightwing, which was announced a while back and also shown at Toy Fair via action figure. They essentially swapped Tim Drake Robin out, who was in the comic, for Dick Grayson / Nightwing. Much like what I said about Deathstroke, you'll never hear me complaining about seeing Nightwing on screen. So the fact that they swapped Tim Drake out for Nightwing doesn't make me mad, since he's my favorite ally of Batman's. Plus, he was great in this movie, even though he's not in it all that much. But at the same time, it would have been cool to see Tim Drake in this. And like all the DC animated movies, it's rated PG-13, so we get some brutally awesome fight scenes as well. People who've read the Batman and Son storyline will be happy to hear they did keep most of the iconic one-liners, like what Damian Wayne says to Batman when he meets him for the first time. People who've read the comic might know what I'm referring to, but if you haven't read it yet, you'll just have to wait till you read the comic or see the movie, because I don't want to spoil that for you. As for the animation style in this film, I really like it. It's actually the same animation style as Justice League War. Much like Marvel's cinematic universe, DC is doing somewhat of the same thing with their animated movies, having their movies live within the same shared universe. The animation also has an Avatar The Last Airbender / Avatar Legend of Korra feel, which is completely fine by me because those are two of my favorite cartoon series. The same voice actor for Batman in Justice League War, Jason O'Mara, voices Batman in this movie, which I had some complaints with his Batman voice in Justice League War, but thought he did much better this time around. I don't know if it's just because it's grown on me or not. Either way, I liked it this time. Stuart Allen, the kid who voices Damian Wayne, I thought did a pretty good job. You can tell it's definitely a kid's voice, which is perfect because, well, Damian Wayne is a kid. And it's just a great mix of youth and toughness all at the same time. So all in all, I really enjoyed this movie. It doesn't stick extremely close to the comic it was adapted from, but I'm not going to hold that against them since they're tweaking the stories to fit in their animated universe. Plus, the new approach they took was very entertaining, and that's why we watch these movies, to be entertained, right? So this is yet another great installment in the DC line of animated movies. And now, I really can't wait to see their next movie, Batman Assault on Arkham, which is based off their Batman Arkham games. And then after that, we might get an Aquaman movie based off of the Throne of Atlantis storyline, which was teased at the end of Justice League War. So let's just hope that comes out sooner rather than later. Have you ever said to yourself, I wish I had the body of a superhero? Well, if you have, you're in luck because Marvel released the Mighty Marvel's Comic Strength and Fitness book in the 70s. I mean, what better way to warm up than doing the torchy twist? Yeah, that's a real thing. You know what else is a real workout? Falcon and Captain America's patriotic pull. Yeah, I'm not even gonna comment on that one. But I do get the feeling someone at Marvel knew this book was freaking weird because the next one is called Ghost Rider's Bizarre Bicycles. Did you ever think you would see Ghost Rider working out like this? Neither did I. There's the Jameson Roar, to which you're probably like, huh? To which I say, exactly. Then you have Things Bashful's Brutish Bottom Basher. What the fuck? And lastly, you have Spider-Man's leg stretches. All I have to say is this looks like a dirty picture Spidey sent to Mary Jane to get her in the mood, if you will. GoDaddy has everything you need to keep your business online and find new customers. Get started by registering a new domain name and creating your website with GoDaddy's easy-to-use website builder. Already have a site? No problem. Keep it running fast with GoDaddy's web hosting. Visit GoDaddy.com and enter the promo code VARIANT30 to save 30% on your purchases. Some limitations apply. See the website for details. First up for Wednesday, April 23rd is Daredevil issue 2. Daredevil's in over his head in his new hometown, which isn't at all as he remembers it. Here we have Secret Origins issue 1. The secret origins of the world's greatest heroes are revealed in the new 52 in this series. Now we have Justice League issue 0. This is an all-new Justice League title that's replacing the Justice League of America book. So if you're looking for a Justice League book to jump onto, this is your chance. And finally, we have Batman Eternal issue 3. A gang war erupts in Gotham City, but the Gotham City Police Department doesn't plan to help Batman stop it. Plus, this issue is the return of a fan-favorite Batman supporting character, Stephanie Brown. And that brings another episode of Variant to a close. I know it's sad, but on the bright side, I'll be back next week. So until then, be sure to like our Variant Facebook page to keep up with the show and all things comic related. You can also follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/Arris_Quinones. But I'll see you all next week when I talk about all things comics. Spot on! Spot on! Comic books, they're adapting. Now, even though they even though they didn't.